Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Who's Daily Dishing with me today? It's Wise Women's Wednesday. Hi, Denise, Carol, Helen, and Patsy. And I see Catherine up there as well. I'm so glad you're here because Wednesday is Wise Women's Wednesday, and this is when the wise women get together. So there, Jocelyn, I'm glad you're here. Beverly, you too. So many things this week we've been talking about, I think, are just so really pertinent to how we operate in this life. And the most critical thing that I can tell you is each thing that we're talking about this week is a little piece of the puzzle. So if you're not taking notes, I sure hope that you are getting our show notes. Those come out the day after we do our shows, and all you have to do is go to Saving Dinner and you can get those show notes. Am I right? Hi, Deborah, Sandy. Wait a minute. Sandy. There she is. Sandy, and Sue. I'm so glad you're here. Sue, I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to have you here. Anyway, so I'm excited about that. And speaking of that, Francesca, I'm excited to see you. My goodness. You know, our quote of the week is a doozy. Has anybody found it just go like this with that, huh? Alice, Kathy, Nancy, cheers. Drinking Pellegrino. I've already downed my 40 ounces down the hatch already. Patsy says she loves the show notes. Thank you. You know, we work hard on those show notes, by the way. Margot in the house, y'all. Say hi to Margot. Anyway, the quote of the week is, worrying is praying for stuff you don't want. Who here is a hand wringer? I know who you are. But we spend our time and our focus on worry. We're removing ourselves from the solution, right? We're focused on the things we don't want instead of the things that we do want. Hello, Michelle. I'm glad you're here. So I just want to drop this little quote. Worrying is praying for stuff you don't want. Ask yourself this. What am I doing? How am I worrying? What worries are plaguing me? How can I dispense of them? Because I'll tell you what, our God is an awesome God. He listens, he hears, he can carry those burdens. So we need to give that stuff up and get to the business of living vibrantly, right? Vibrantly. That's what I say about that. The other thing is, I have got a little something that I wanted to give you about, tell you a little bit about this selenium that I'm just, absolutely adamant. I think most women really need it, to be honest, especially if you've had any thyroid issue, if you've been diagnosed with any kind of a thyroid thing. Sue, hello. Glad to have you here. And this is the reason why. The International Journal of Endocrinology said this, that they found that overweight women who took selenium lost 21 pounds in 3 months. And that's because it improves the metabolism that much. Isn't that amazing? Now, I take it simply because I have a thyroid issue. And any woman with a thyroid issue, get on top of it, right? So I had my blood test done and my thyroid, I hadn't been taking thyroid. I was waiting because we were moving doctors and doing all this stuff. And so I ran out of thyroid medication, hadn't had it for, like 2 weeks or something like that. And my thyroid had gone up and they said, and I felt really crappy. And they said, your thyroid's normal, within normal range. And I thought, we don't want to be normal range. We want to be optimal range, optimal. And it's funny how they just dismiss that. And when we go to the doctor and say, this is what I want, their only job is just to get you into that normal range. Isn't it interesting? They don't want to, they're not there to help you live optimally. That's on you. That's on you. That was my big takeaway from all of that. And I'm just like, okay, if I want that, that's what I'm going to want. The other thing is this: if you do have a thyroid issue, and most women who have thyroid issues, even if it's only been diagnosed as hypothyroidism, a lot of times it's Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune, meaning that antibodies are attacking your thyroid. That means your thyroid needs protection. And if you take selenium, a trace mineral, you are going to reduce antibodies as much as 40%. That is a huge deal. So I take my selenium daily. I suggest you do the same. Find it at savingdinner.com/show. Show. That's where it is. If you buy 3, you will get the 4th one free. And that's fantastic. That's going to keep you for a quarter of the year. How about that? Pretty good. We have such deals. And who here is ultimately sprinting? I want to see some pinkies up. I want to see some pinkies up. It's never too late to join. We're doing this for 2 weeks. So if you didn't start this week, you can start right now. You can wait to start Monday. I can get you the guide today. Go to savingdinner.com/us. US for Ultimate Sprint. There's my girl, Nancy. I knew she was doing that. Even with her little elbow situation. Carol's doing it. Deborah's doing it. Look at our girls. Francesca. Sue is doing it. I knew you were, Sue, and so am I. All of us are doing it. Getting that fiber up, getting that protein up. What a difference. What a big, big difference. So this week we've been talking and kind of, what should we say? What's the word I'm looking for? We're trying to disassemble, shall we say, mindset and what it is. Because oftentimes we just talk about it. And I will tell you that mindset is a decision. Mindset doesn't just come, right? It is a developed capacity. That's what it is. And our minds grow, our mindset grows, the way that we focus grows, all of it grows as we start to notice, as we become curious about the way that we're thinking, how we're doing things, what isn't working, what's working. All of that stuff is all focused on the core of mindset. Makes all the difference. So the developed capacity is to utilize the mind to redesign or reorganize the brain. Now, I don't know about you. There are things that I need to redesign, and there are things that I need to reorganize. Because sometimes we think it should be like this, and boom, 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 boom. And how long have we been trying that, and how long has it not been working, right? So maybe we need to go back and say, hold the phone, see what we're doing here. And one of the best tools I know, of course, is using the timesheet. You can find those at savingdinner.com/time. Now, this time blocking sheet will show you how you spend your time, because your time tells on you. It tells you what you prioritize. And when you get those, when you start seeing how you're prioritizing, you might say that these are my priorities in life, but your time is being spent differently. That's being out of alignment. And that is just, you can't connect on those fronts then. You cannot connect. So we need to be looking at that, because the key word here is the developed capacity. It is in this place of developing it so that we can become the best selves that we want to become. So we can become the vibrant women that we want to become, right? And as we develop this capacity to see things just a little bit differently and to test maybe the margins of our lives and see if we can push it out a little bit more, we start to see what we're really made out of. And it is really incredible when we see the things that we can do. We have a strength that maybe we didn't know that we had before. We have capabilities and capacities we didn't know that we had before. We stop limiting ourselves, and we stop putting limiting beliefs on what it is that we can do. And we start seeing and noticing things are going a little bit differently. That's one of the things that we need to do. But we have to stop with adopting other beliefs, because the beliefs maybe that we have right now are the ones that are keeping us small, keeping us tucked away, and keeping us from developing into our highest selves. So when I was a kid, I'll just use some of the things that I went through at my house. When I was a kid, I used to hear money doesn't grow on trees, or that money is hard to make. And I always believed that. I always believed that I had to work myself to the bone. I was always a workaholic, always, 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 always doing it. I used to get my kids used to get frustrated with me. Mom, you're always working. And I was just so fearful that if I didn't always work, my children were going to be out in the streets starving. We'd be panhandling and sitting on freeway entrances, feed this mother and her, single mom and her two children, kind of a thing. I mean, dramatic maybe, but that was, that's how I was raised. And it also, when I think of these things, I think of somebody. I think like Scrooge being humped over his desk, working and working and working his fingers to the bone. Or money's hard to make. I think it's about somebody who's in some sweatshop factory working 12, 13, 14 hours at a time. Just, unbearable conditions. That's what I think of. But that is something that we bring on as a belief. And I was like in my 50s when I started saying, that's not true. Money isn't hard to make. And money doesn't grow on trees, but, money's all around us. And we just, simply need to be working smartly. And we simply need to be understanding that when we when we have this idea that everything's so hard about it, we're repelling it. It's too hard to make. It's too hard. It doesn't grow on trees. And you're saying no to this type of abundance. Isn't that weird? And that's just not true. It's not true. Another one is, and maybe you've said this yourself, is no one cares. No one cares. What an ugly declarative statement to make. Of course people care. Of course people love you. Of course they're interested in X, Y, and Z. They might not be interested in that one subject, but we think this idea of no one cares refers to who we are and what we are. That's what we think about when we do that. And I want to say that nobody wants to live like that. No one wants to live like that, thinking no one cares. Then you're all alone, and it's a very sad situation. Money doesn't grow on trees. No one cares. It's like small, 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 smaller. That's how this whole thing works. However, when you make new beliefs, you make new decisions to accommodate those beliefs. And those beliefs completely start to reorganize and recreate and redesign your mind. That's what it is that does that. We have to do sorting. It's the sorting of the laundry. We don't wash black socks with white towels, right? This is the same thing. We've got to get the stuff out that just isn't welcome anymore. How often do we carry around these old beliefs that have not served us for years? It's so true. So oftentimes, though, we get to this place and going, yeah, okay, so this stuff needs to go. So what should I believe now? And how do I make those beliefs? Well, I'm going to tell you, Brett, a couple of things. That this is what I know for my own, for my own life, is I didn't know exactly how to feel about money, for example. Like money doesn't grow on trees, money's hard to make. I just knew that if I stayed true to who I was and true to what I felt like my calling was from God and my purpose and my mission, then things would just flow. And there's been ups and downs. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it hasn't been like this perfect sea of loveliness. It hasn't. But when you do that, when you make that decision that you're just going to try these things out, how all comes along on the backside. Have you noticed that? Because what oftentimes will stop us, the obstacle that stops us, is I don't know how. But if we say, you know what, I don't know how, but I'm still going to be moving forward. I'm still going to adopt these new beliefs. I'm still going to, figure this out. One of the things that I like to say a lot of times is, of course I've got this figured out. Of course this is working out for me. Of course I can do this. And your brain is searching for the evidence to support that. We're going back to the brain again. It's a reticular activating system that is wanting to find that car that you want. Remember, we talked about that yesterday. That's how this stuff works. There was a Harvard brain study. I've shared this story with you before a million times, but it's so critically important. And it was the concert pianist play the piano and have these brain thingies, these little whatever they have on his head so they could see exactly what was going on in his brain. They brain scanned him while he was playing the piano. And then they did it again where he was playing on the desk as if he were playing the piano. And the whole conclusion of this whole situation is, because the brain scans were exactly the same, is that your brain does not know the difference between reality and what you imagine. It doesn't. And this is critical and this is important. And the reason that it's important is because you get to create your reality by telling your brain what it is that you want, even if it isn't exactly true and what exactly happening right in front of you. You can still play that desk like a concert piano, girlfriend. That's the gig right there. So if you decide what you want, you can visualize it. And if you visualize it, you can think of it as a memory that just hasn't happened yet. Do you love that? That's what I love. I mean, I've shared with you what I did looking at other houses that we just couldn't afford and making voice memos, whispering into my phone and saying, I'm standing on my dock. This is my dock. This is my view. This is where I live. I didn't buy that house. We bought this one. But the same thing, it's the same principle of making a memory of something that hasn't happened yet. But that's okay because it imprints in the brain as the same thing. That's the point. So your imagination and reality are the same to your brain. It cannot tell the difference. Write that down if you have not yet. And every single time that you sit there and think, oh, that's crazy. I shouldn't be saying that. I shouldn't be doing that. I want you to back away from that and say, you know what? I'm just exercising this new memory. I'm taking it out for a trot. See how it feels. What does it feel like? Yeah. I love my deck and view too, Nancy. It's so great. It's such an answer to prayer. So this can work for you or against you, by the way, is if your imagination and reality are the same to your brain and can't tell the difference. It can work for you, like my house story here, or it can work against you and put you back into those same negative loops. And if we go into the place of saying no to the negative loops and yes to the possibilities and your imagination and latching onto that and allowing that to become your reality, you completely transform your life, right? Completely. It's not just for me. It's not just for the few that are out there or whatever. It's for everyone. This is a choice that we can make. But in order to do that, we got to walk out of those negative loops. We got to step away and start creating the reality and the focus that we want. That focus is the thing. It's going to bring you into the place of exactly what it is that you want. What are you going to choose today? That's a good question, right? What do you want to choose today? Think about that. Put this stuff in your journal. Allow your brain to just run with it. Let your imagination fly. Develop it. Be curious about it. Think about these 2 sentence starters for your journal. What if, and can you imagine? And not doomsday, can you imagine? But what if I did that? What if I attained that? What if I became this? And then, can you imagine what it's going to be like? Can you imagine what it's going to be like? In my journal, I was going through my journal and I have so much of that in here. And then I also have another one. Of course I've got this. Of course I can do this. Of course, this is easy for me. This is something that I just do naturally. All of these things are things of that's just a retraining is all. Because that's what I want my focus to be. And I invite you into the same place. Let's focus together on vibrancy. What do you say? Are you with me? I sure hope so. Because I'll tell you what, I want to live with my pinkies up and I want to live with my life in full bloom. And I invite you to do the same. Pinkies up if you got it, if you get it. All right. As usual, it's been a joy being with you today. And tomorrow is Thirsty Thursday. If you missed any of our announcements, you can find them at savingdinner.com/announcements. Meanwhile, I will see you tomorrow for Thirsty Thursday. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.